You know what nobody tells you about silence? It's not empty, it's full. Full of everything you postponed feeling, full of conversations you rehearsed in your head but never had in real life, full of moments you swallowed because it wasn't the right time. And the strange thing is, we say we want peace, but the moment peace arrives, we panic, because silence removes distraction, and without distraction, there's nowhere left to hide. Most men don't fear chaos, they fear stillness, because chaos gives you a role. Silence strips you of one. No performance, no reaction, no defense, just you, and the version of you that only shows up when nobody's watching. That's heavy. There are thoughts that only speak when everything else shuts up. They don't shout, they don't demand, they wait patiently, and when they finally surface, they don't accuse you. They just ask questions. Why did you tolerate that? Why did you stay longer than you should have? Why did you say yes when you meant no? Silence doesn't attack. It exposes. It removes the excuses you use in public. In silence, you don't get to blame timing. You don't get to blame other people. You don't get to blame circumstance. You sit there and you realize some of your suffering was negotiation. You negotiated with discomfort. You negotiated with disrespect. You negotiated with your own standards. And that realization is not loud, it's quiet. That's why it hurts. Most people fill their lives like they fill a room with music. Not because they love the music, but because they can't stand the quiet. Phone in hand, TV in the background, notifications always on, constant stimulation, constant escape. But here's the truth. If you cannot sit alone in silence for 10 minutes without reaching for something, you are not busy. You are avoiding reflection, avoiding ownership, avoiding the version of yourself that asks harder questions. And the weight you feel in silence, that's not loneliness, that's confrontation. Silence is a mirror, but not the flattering one. It doesn't smooth your edges. It doesn't dim the flaws. It shows you exactly where you compromised, exactly where you chose comfort over integrity, exactly where you stayed quiet because speaking would have cost you approval. And approval is addictive. We crave it more than we admit, so we shrink, we adjust, we dilute, not dramatically, just enough to remain accepted. Then one night you sit with a glass in front of you and you realize you don't even remember where the adjustments started. That's when silence gets heavy, because you're not just hearing thoughts, you're meeting consequences. The first glass warms the room, the second slows the noise, the third makes honesty harder to ignore. You look at the reflection in the glass, distorted, amber, shaking slightly in the light, and you understand something. You weren't tired, you were misaligned. Misaligned with your values, misaligned with your standards, misaligned with the life you said you wanted. And silence didn't create that truth. It revealed it. Here's where most people get it wrong. They think silence is punishment. It's not. It's recalibration. It strips away the distractions so you can see clearly, and clarity is uncomfortable before it becomes empowering. Because once you see clearly where you betrayed yourself, you have two choices: return to noise or adjust your life. And adjusting your life means friction, conversations, boundaries, loss of certain comforts. Not everyone is willing to pay that price, so they turn the volume back up. There's a different kind of strength that grows in silence. It's not loud. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't need validation. It simply knows what it tolerates, knows what it won't, knows where it stands. And that kind of clarity doesn't need argument. It doesn't need defense. It moves quietly, decides quietly, leaves quietly. That's power, not the kind that dominates, the kind that aligns. Something changes when you stop running from silence. It stops feeling heavy. It starts feeling clean, like a reset, like standing in a room after everyone has left and realizing you can finally breathe. Because the weight was never silence. It was avoidance. And once avoidance leaves, so does the pressure. You know what the strangest part is? Silence doesn't arrive loudly. It settles like dust. First, you don't notice it. Then suddenly, it's everywhere. On the table, on your thoughts, on the things you avoided saying. There's a moment after everyone leaves the room. Chairs slightly moved, glass half full, air still warm, and that moment, that's where truth lives. Not in arguments, not in applause, in the after. The after is quiet, and in that quiet you don't have to perform anymore. You don't have to justify. You don't have to defend. There's no one left to convince. Just you and whatever is real. Most people never stay for the after. They leave with the noise. They leave with the distraction. They leave before the room settles. Because staying means facing what remains when everything artificial fades. And what remains is usually simple, not dramatic, not cinematic, just honest. Maybe you stayed somewhere too long. Maybe you tolerated something beneath you. Maybe you built a version of yourself that made sense to others, but not to you. Silence doesn't shout those things. It lets them sit. And the longer you sit with them, the clearer they become. Not heavier, clearer. There's a shift that happens when you stop resisting it. Your breathing slows, your shoulders drop. The tension you didn't know you were carrying begins to loosen, and suddenly, silence isn't pressing on you, it's holding you. Like the room isn't judging, it's witnessing, and in that witnessing you realize something. You're not broken, you were just distracted. Distracted from your own alignment, distracted from your own voice, distracted from the boundaries you should have drawn. Silence doesn't demand perfection, it demands honesty, and honesty is lighter than performance. So maybe the weight you felt was never silence, it was resistance, and once resistance softens, the room changes. It doesn't feel empty anymore. It feels open. So tonight, don't reach for noise immediately. Let the room settle. Let the thoughts surface. Let the uncomfortable questions land. You don't have to answer them all. Just don't interrupt them. Because the man who can sit in silence without panic is the man who knows himself. And the man who knows himself is lighter than the one who is constantly performing. Stay. Let it speak. And if it feels heavy, good. That means it's working.